1983 opened with growing concern that the British Army of Occupation and its eyes and ears, the RUC, was engaged on a shoot-on-suspicion policy in the 6 counties of Ireland. Volunteer Neil McMonagle was only 23 years old when his young life was snuffed out by British imperialism on the night of Wednesday, February 2nd, 1983, near his home in the Shantallow district. His companion, 19-year-old Liam Duffy, was critically wounded. Volunteer McMonagle's family, in the face of media suggestions to the contrary, remain adamant that the shooting was premeditated, cold-blooded murder. Death threats had been issued against Neil by the RUC after he had been released from jail for insufficient evidence against him. Mrs. Marion Robinson, the sister of Neil, told that her brother had been babysitting in Mrs. Helena Breslin's home at Leafair Park and had declared that he had been expecting Liam Duffy to call and keep him company. She added that Mr. Duffy had obviously called with him as there were cups and plates left lying in the home, suggesting that the two had been eating together in the house before the shooting had occurred. The McMonagle family believed the two men were decoyed out of the house. They said that their brother must have been lured out of the house, otherwise he would not have left the Breslin children, aged 1 and 2 years, unattended. It is still unclear how the two men came to leave the house and go to the area where the shooting occurred. There was unanimous belief among residents of the area that the shooting had been carried out by an undercover SAS squad and that neither of the two local men were armed. Tension in the area was high following the shooting, with local people angrily denouncing the fact the ambulance transporting the men to hospital was delayed by the army. Local priest, Father Joseph Carolan, was one of the first at the scene and he administered the last rites. He said that the two young men were lying in a small field just off the grass verge, only about 3 feet from each other. He said that one victim was obviously shot dead, while the other was moving his arms, apparently shot in the stomach. He said that the ambulance taking the two men to hospital was blocked by soldiers and that an altercation then took place between him and an army officer, which led to Father Carolan contacting an RUC inspector, and the ambulance was then allowed to proceed. In a statement issued on February 7th, his comrades paid tribute to Neil's memory. The Derry Brigade of the INLA deeply mourned the assassination of our comrade Neil McMonagle by the SAS. He was a fearless soldier. His powers of leadership and his untiring devotion to the cause of Republican socialism made him a prime target for the emissaries of British imperialism, who in the end took his young life. Volunteer Neil McMonagle was given a Republican military funeral, as is traditional for all revolutionary fighters who dedicated their lives for socialism. His remains were draped in the tricolour and starry plough flags, and his beret and belt were placed on top of his coffin. As the procession neared the city cemetery, a volley of shots echoed through the narrow streets of the Bogside. A last salute to a proletarian soldier of a proletarian army of liberation. Even in death, the occupying forces could not ignore this revolutionary. 3 British Army helicopters shadowed the funeral procession as it made its way from the church to the city cemetery. Volunteer Neil McMonagle had taken the path of resistance, to which he was committed to for some years, and which ultimately cost him his life. He had known about the hardships of life under British rule, and had always recognised the needs of the community and the necessity of armed struggle. Neil had married while on the run and had worked tirelessly for the working class of Derry without complaint. 2 years earlier, in 1981, volunteer Neil McMonagle had read the oration at the funeral of INLA hunger striker and comrade Patsy O'Hara.